Welcome, dear friends, to the enchanting world of words, the Millennium Library. Here, memories take us back to warm nights where grandmothers and mothers wove the most wonderful tales. Our only wish now is for you to listen, to dive deep into the heart of the stories that shaped our minds and souls. We have embarked on this unique project, the Millennium Library, to gather for you a treasure trove of timeless novels and stories, and present them to you with voices full of warmth and sweetness. It is a legacy we are creating together between humanity and artificial intelligence to remain a testament to the power of words and the magic of storytelling throughout the ages. We hope you find in it what delights your souls and enriches your imagination. If this work touches your hearts, we would be delighted if you share it with your loved ones. And remember, your support lies in liking this segment and leaving your comments which illuminate our path. We are here to grow by you and with you. With sincere regards from the Millennium Library. In Norway, the baby. King Halfdan lived in Norway long ago. One morning his queen said to him, I had a strange dream last night. I thought that I stood in the grass before my bower blown. I pulled a thorn from my dress. As I held it in my fingers, it grew into a tall tree. The trunk was thick and red as blood, but the lower limbs were fair and green, and the highest ones were white. I thought that the branches of this great tree spread so far that they covered all Norway and even more. A strange dream, said King Halfdan. Dreams are the messengers of the gods. I wonder what they would tell us. And he stroked his beard in thought. Some time after that, a serving woman came into the feast hall where King Halfdan was. She carried a little white bundle in her arms. My lord, she said, a little son is just born to you. Ha! cried the king, and he jumped up from the high seat and hastened forward until he stood before the woman. Show him to me, he shouted, and there was joy in his voice. The serving woman put down her bundle on the ground and turned back the cloth. There was a little naked baby. The king looked at it carefully. It is a goodly youngster, he said and smiled. Bring Ivar and Thorstein. They were captains of the king's soldiers. Soon they came. Stand as witnesses, Halfdan said. Then he lifted the baby in his arms, while the old serving woman brought a silver bowl of water. The king dipped his hand into it and sprinkled the baby, saying, I own this baby for my son. He shall be called Harold. My naming gift to him is 10 pounds of gold. Then the woman carried the baby back to the queen's room. My lord owns him for his son, she said, and no wonder, he is perfect in every limb. The queen looked at him and smiled, and remembered her dream and thought, that great tree, can it be this little baby of mine? The Tooth Thrall. When Harold was 7 months old, he cut his first tooth. Then his father said, all the young of my herds, lambs and calves and colts, that have been born since this baby was born. I this day give to him. I also give to him this thrall, Olaf. These are my tooth gifts to my son. The boy grew fast, for as soon as he could walk about, he was out of doors most of the time. He ran in the woods and climbed the hills and waded in the creek. He was much with his tooth thrall, for the king had said to Olaf, "Be ever at his call." Now this Olaf was full of stories, and Harold liked to hear them. "Come out to Aegir's rock, Olaf, and tell me stories," he said almost every day. So they started off across the hills. The man wore a long, loose coat of white wool, belted at the waist with a strap. He had on coarse shoes and leather leggings. Around his neck was an iron collar welded together so that it could not come off. On it were strange marks, called runes, that said, "Olaf, thrall of Halfdan." But Harold's clothes were gay. A cape of grey velvet hung from his shoulders. It was fastened over his breast with great gold buckles. When it waved in the wind, a scarlet lining flashed out, and the bottom of a little scarlet jacket showed. His feet and legs were covered with grey woolen tights. Gold lacings wound around his legs from his shoes to his knees. A band of gold held down his long yellow hair. It was a wild country that these two were walking over. They were climbing steep, rough hills. Some of them seemed made all of rock, with a little earth lying in spots. Great rocks hung out from them, with trees growing in their cracks. Some big pieces had broken off and rolled down the hill. "Thor broke them," Olaf said. "He rides through the sky and hurls his hammer at clouds and at mountains. That makes the thunder and the lightning and cracks the hills. His hammer never misses its aim, and it always comes back to his hand and is eager to go again." When they reached the top of the hill, they looked back. Far below was a soft, green valley. In front of it, the sea came up into the land and made a fjord. On each side of the fjord, high walls of rock stood up and made the water black with shadow. All around the valley were high hills with dark pines on them. Far off were the mountains. In the valley were Halfdan's houses around their square yard. "How little our houses look down there," Harold said. "But I can almost yes, I can see the red dragon on the roof of the feast hall. Do you remember when I climbed up and sat on his head, Olaf?" He laughed and kicked his heels and ran on. At last they came to Aegir's rock and walked up on its flat top. Harold went to the edge and looked over. A ragged wall of rock reached down, and 200 feet below was the black water of the fjord. Olaf watched him for a while. Then he said, "No whitening of your cheek, Harold? Good. A boy that can face the fall of Aegir's rock will not be afraid to face the war flash when he is a man." "Ho! I am not afraid of the war flash now," cried Harold. He threw back his cape and drew a little dagger from his belt. "See," he cried, "does this not flash like a sword? And I am not afraid. But after all, this is a baby thing. When I am 8 years old, I will have a sword, a sharp tooth of war." He swung his dagger as though it were a long sword. Then he ran and sat on a rock by Olaf. "Why is this Aegir's rock?" he asked. You know that Asgard is up in the sky, Olaf said. It is a wonderful city where the golden houses of the gods are in the golden grove. A high wall runs all around it. In the house of Odin, the All-Father, there is a great feast hall larger than the whole earth. Its name is Valhalla. It has 500 doors. The rafters are spears. The roof is thatched with shields. Armor lies on the benches. In the high seat sits Odin, a golden helmet on his head, a spear in his hand. Two wolves lie at his feet. At his right hand and his left sit all the gods and goddesses, and around the hall sit thousands and thousands of men, all the brave ones that have ever died. Now it is good to be in Valhalla, for there is mead there better than men can brew, and it never runs out. And there are skalds that sing wonderful songs that men never heard. And before the doors of Valhalla is a great meadow where the warriors fight every day and get glorious and sweet wounds and give many. And all night they feast, and their wounds heal. But none may go to Valhalla except warriors that have died bravely in battle. Men who die from sickness go with women and children and cowards to Niflheim. There Hela, who is queen, always sneers at them, and a terrible cold takes hold of their bones, and they sit down and freeze. Years ago, Aegir was a great warrior. Aegir the Big-Handed, they called him. In many a battle his sword had sung, and he had sent many warriors to Valhalla. Many swords had bit into his flesh and left marks there, but never a one had struck him to death. So his hair grew white and his arms thin. There was peace in that country then, and Aegir sorrowed, saying, I am old, battles are still. Must I die in bed like a woman? Shall I not see Valhalla? Now thus did Odin say long ago, if a man is old and is come near death and cannot die in fight, let him find death in some brave way, and he shall feast with me in Valhalla. So one day Aegir came to this rock. A deed to win Valhalla, he cried. Then he drew his sword and flashed it over his head, and held his shield high above him, and leaped out into the air and died in the water of the fjord. Ho! Cried Harald, jumping to his feet. I think that Odin stood up before his high seat and welcomed that man gladly when he walked through the door of Valhalla. So the songs say, replied Olaf, for skalds still sing of that deed all over Norway. Conclusion of our journey. And so we reach the conclusion of our journey for today, within the unending worlds of words and the never folding pages of knowledge. We have spent an enjoyable and beneficial time together within the embrace of Millennium Library, where voices meet tales and a new cultural legacy is forged. We hope you have enjoyed every moment and delved deeply into the dimensions of the story or novel we presented to you. Always remember that this grand edifice, Millennium Library, is the result of a unique collaboration between human creativity and the profound depth of artificial intelligence. Our goal is to enrich your ears and minds with the treasures of world literature and to make knowledge accessible to everyone. while preserving the ownership rights of Millennium Library for this distinctive production. Don't forget to follow us and activate the notification bell to receive all new content. And share this podcast with everyone around you, for knowledge is light, and together we illuminate the paths. Until we meet again in a future episode and a new literary adventure, may you be in the care and keeping of Allah, and within the realm of immortal words. Millennium Library, where tales are embodied, knowledge is narrated, and creativity is immortalized.